Good afternoon, everyone. Please sit comfortably and remain in your practice. And I do mean you can sit comfortably, seriously. My name is Myokan Weinhardt, and I'm a Dharma holder with Empty Moon Zen. And today, we're going to explore what it means to encounter our lives fully, what it means to take refuge in what is, and how we can respond compassionately. And it starts with the story about someone I love who we'll call Marie. Once upon a time, now it's earlier this year, I flew into town to stay with my friend Marie for a week, and every morning was the same. Before I had time to wipe the sleep out of my eyes or even start to make a pot of coffee, MSNBC was on, squawking through the house, and it was the worst alarm clock ever. Please turn off the news, I kept thinking after a couple of days. But I was a guest in Marie's home. I didn't say anything. I didn't want to be rude. It's her house. During my visit, Marie worked from home, and she sat on the couch all day long, across from the television, which was always on. The volume was usually turned down while she worked, but otherwise there was nothing but network news that poured into the house all day long. It was very interesting. It was hard for me personally to see Marie's loneliness so intimately. Aside from her beloved dog and the occasional call from family or friends, the news on TV was actually her closest companion. I think it made her feel like she was part of something bigger, kind of like an upside-down proxy for real human interaction and community. But from where I was standing, all I could see was her suffering. That was all I could see, constantly outraged by the state of the world and not able to do anything about it, seemingly. It is a cautionary tale. Marie allowed her mind to get thrashed and pulled in every which direction, and oblivious to how it was actually compromising the quality of her life. It's really easy to think that we're just staying informed, and Marie certainly thought so. But there's got to be a dynamic balance between staying informed as a responsible citizen and staying engaged with our real life. The one that is right here, right now, right in front of us. Being there reminded me of a hard truth. No one else will guard the gates of your mind. No one else will tend to the garden of your attention. Quite the opposite, in fact. We each must take radical responsibility for ourselves, for our lives, and for our minds. If we spend too much time focused only on the muck and the mud, we lose ourselves to it. When staying informed doesn't lead to some kind of positive action, when it only fuels pain and disconnection, when it actively takes you away from the treasures of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, from right here and right now, it's frankly just causing harm. If it can't somehow be alchemized into compassionate action, what good is swallowing all that poison? With Marie, it felt like we were standing outside, unprotected in a hurricane, hoping that if we just analyzed and talked about the storm enough, it would eventually settle down and we could feel safe. But that kind of wind doesn't settle. It just keeps blowing. And that's where I found myself with her, standing in the middle of this 24/7 news hurricane, feeling the gale force of the worst of humanity and looking for some place to take refuge. It reminded me of a koan, a Zen encounter from long ago, case 29 from the Gateless Gate. Weinung's not the wind, not the flag. Here's the case. Two monks were arguing about the temple flag waving in the wind. One said, "It's the flag that moves." And the other one said, "No, it's the wind that moves." And they argued back and forth for quite some time, but couldn't agree. The sixth ancestor, Weinung, said, "Gentlemen, it is not the wind that moves. It is not the flag that moves. It is your mind that moves." And of course, great realization for the monks. But remembering that koan, that's when it hit me. That this is the exact same trap that Marie was caught in. She was convinced that the problem was like the wind, the politics, the state of the world, the external chaos. She believed that if she could just analyze and stare down the raging wind long enough, it would settle down. She would have control over it. But at the same time, she was being whipped around by the flag, her own internal churn of outrage and fear and the certainty in the stories that she told herself. If only this person was honest, if only that party was in power, everything would be better. And my God, we all do this, don't we? We judge. We know. We love to feel certain. We love to feel right. And then we love to surround ourselves with people who also think we're right, so we can all be right together. It feeds and reinforces our ego. And I'm no different. I'm no different at all. There I am judging her, like she's avoiding her life by obsessing over the news. And me judging her about this. I wanted her to turn it off so that I could feel more peaceful. I was doing the exact same thing as Marie and as those monks. I was arguing with the reality of the moment. I was telling stories and wanting it to be other than it was. The news isn't the problem, and silence is not the cure. The real problem arises when our mind demands this moment to be different than it is. And that's when I saw it clearly. My own resistance to what is. I was trying to find refuge by excluding the parts I did not like while I was with her. In this case, it was a personal overdose of MSNBC. But what could possibly cut through all of the external noise and all of the internal resistance simultaneously? Well, fast forward to a few months later, and I found myself in a totally different kind of storm. This time, it was just the sheer overwhelming pressures of my life, and they'd caught up with me. I was rocked by this avalanche of work, family, and financial stress. And I felt completely unmoored, just drowning in waves of uncertainty. To be honest, at that time, I was on the verge of a panic attack. My heart was starting to race. I wanted help. I wanted answers. I wanted any semblance of clarity and certainty. And there I was, arguing about the flag, begging it to stop flapping in the wind, or at least to flap a little differently. Without really thinking, I opened my closet door to root around for something. Maybe it was pictures, an old book, or some comforting doodad that I had hidden in there. The truth is the microphone turned off. Maybe. Hello? Oh yeah, no, this one's dead.
Time for new batteries all over the place.
Thank you. I didn't know what I was looking for in the closet. I just wanted to find some relief. I wanted relief from this crushing stress that was making my palms sweat. And in moments like these, when I'm completely soaked with stress and anxiety, I sometimes reach out and ask for help, for peace, for guidance, just with my heart-mind. I don't even know who I'm asking. And so as I opened the closet door in my office, looking for something sacred and asking the universe for help, I stepped into the dark. Pop! It exploded like a tiny, very loud gunshot, and I nearly jumped out of my skin. I looked down to find that I had stepped squarely onto a piece of giant bubble wrap, that had fallen onto the floor. And in that split second, everything shifted. That internal argument about work, gone. The narrative about being unsafe vanished. Both the wind and the flag were cut off completely. For that one instant, there was no past. There was no future. There were no stories. In fact, there was no Mo at all. There was just pop! Just the sound and the sensation. Just this. It snapped me right out of my thoughts and dropped me effortlessly back into the present moment. And in the very next breath, while standing there in a dark closet, I cracked up. I started to laugh so hard. It was all at once just so ridiculous, beautiful, and perfect. I'd gone in there looking for some kind of wisdom and guidance, and the universe gave me bubble wrap. What a great sense of humor. I laughed, realizing that I'd been looking for refuge somewhere out there, in a memory, a book, a distraction, any place where the wind and the flag weren't blowing. But that's not our practice. Because truly, is there such a place? It's not the wind that moves. It's not the flag that moves. It's our mind that moves. The ordinary phenomena of our lives are the refuges. This is how we find stillness in the storm. The sound of the wind is the sermon. The pop of bubble wrap under my foot is vibrant truth. I laughed in gratitude for that heartfelt reminder that there is nothing but this. But we can't go walking on bubble wrap all day long. So how do we really practice this? How do we remember? Especially in the midst of distress, about panic attack, to return to just this, particularly when our monkey minds are frantically telling stories to fill in the gaps and try to create certainty. No one is above the challenge of minding the mind. No one is beyond this. There is no finish line. Our ego isn't a switch that can simply be flipped off. And this is exactly why our practice of paying attention is so important. By taking the reins of our consciousness, by beginning to take responsibility for the power of our mind, we're capable of seeing through the self-serving interests of the ego. And we can start by redefining what it means to take refuge. It's deceptively easy to treat the three treasures, the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, like some kind of escape hatch. Like we want them to be calm, clean sanctuaries where we can hide from the chaos. But the refuges are not escape hatches. They're invitations. First, we take refuge in the Buddha. But this isn't a golden statue on the altar, or even this beautiful statue behind me. This is the refuge of being fully incarnate. It's realizing that our own physical existence, eating when we're hungry, sleeping when we're tired, that is the Buddha appearing. That pain in your knees, maybe in your low back, that is also the Buddha appearing right now. When I was on the verge of that panic attack in my office, I wanted to escape all of those racing thoughts. I wanted a body that was calm and peaceful, without the pounding heart. But this practice is realizing that this ordinary body, this one right here, the one that shakes when it's scared and sweats when it's stressed, it's the only Buddha there is. To take refuge is to inhabit this body without aversion. More than that, it's to inhabit this body exactly as it is, with compassion. Sometimes, whether I like it or not, I'm the Buddha of anxiety. And taking refuge is bowing to that Buddha as well, even when I don't want to. And always the question is, how can I act compassionately? Second, we take refuge in the Dharma, the Buddha's teachings. This isn't just reliance on sutras or scriptures. This refuge is the direct seeing and acceptance of the truth of this moment, whatever that truth might present. In this realm of form, phenomena are the scripture, the sharp pain of a stubbed toe, the smell of burnt toast, which I don't really like, the sounds of a Seattle storm, the chaos of mudslides and flooded streets. How we feel about the phenomena and the stories that we tell about them, like my judgments about Maria's news addiction. These are just opinions and preferences. They are the off-gassing of our ego. But when we take refuge in the Dharma, the sound of the wind is the sermon. The flooded streets, the stink of singed toast, the pop of bubble wrap. This is all reality preaching to us. We often try to pick and choose our Dharma, but to take refuge here means bowing to reality as it is. It means looking at the hurricane and admitting, oh, the wind is blowing, without adding extra narratives around, wow, it really shouldn't be. And always, the question is, how can we act compassionately? Finally, we take refuge in the Sangha, the community. And for some, this is perhaps the hardest one, because the Sangha is not just a club of perfect, awesome, like-minded Zen students like we have here, clearly. No, this is Indra's net. It's a refuge of radical connection and interdependence, including the people we love dearly and the people who drive us crazy, the politicians who appear to reflect our personal values and those we despise. As a wise person once said, everywhere I look, there I am. This also includes Marie, bathed in the blue light of the television, and her dog happily curled up next to her on the couch. In its grandest sense, the Sangha is boundlessly compassionate, non-judgmental, and all-inclusive. No beings are left out. No being is better than any other. But, at least as far as human egos are concerned, that is tough medicine to swallow. Like we said earlier, humans love to be right. I do. We love to surround ourselves with others who also think we're right, so we can all be right together. And therefore, and this is not a judgment, it's just a reality, therefore we feel better, smarter, more superior than those other people over there. This is why Sangha can also feel full of conflict and sharp edges. But therein lies the beauty. Every distinct thing, no matter how jagged, ugly, or imperfect, fits together seamlessly to create this exact moment. Taking refuge in the Sangha is to stand in the mud of this messy, fragmented world and to know it as holy ground. And this is the point. We don't take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha just to feel better. We don't do this practice to escape from what's happening in the chaos of the world or from what's happening within. We take refuge so we can become the refuge. This is the living reciprocity of our practice. We lean on the three treasures to help stabilize our minds. And once we are stable, once we stop arguing over the wind and the flag, we can offer that stability to the world. We become the Buddha for those who are suffering. We become the Dharma for those who are confused. We become the Sangha for those who are lost on the dark and broken roads. And that includes for ourselves. You might wonder, who am I to do that? Who am I to be Buddha? Come on. But remember my story about the closet and stepping into the dark. The Buddha is nothing more and nothing less than the one who hears the pop. When you stop arguing over the wind and the flag, when you find that vibrant pop of reality right under your feet, you'll realize that the refuges aren't places outside of ourselves. You'll remember they're what we are. Please tend to your garden carefully, and may we each encounter the fullness of our life. Thank you.